Grassroots. It's great to have such a big crowd here. I hope that if you're here for the first time, that you will feel so welcome here among like-minded people that you will want to come back. We meet every Friday. And you can go to our website to see the very informative meetings that we have. And this is a very active group with very strong opinions, rooted in principle. I want to tell you today that it is a very, very important exercise we're taking on here today. Vetting candidates has never been as important as it is today. No longer can we afford to elect people on the basis of a personality contest.
Amen.
It has to be electing people who have the right core values and principles that will help us save these United States. And it begins in our own backyard. We can never hope to impact Austin and what goes on in our state house, or what goes on in Washington, D.C., if we are not first willing to have a very high local standard, a standard that calls for people to be principled, and I'm talking about the kind of principles that made this country possible and that has given us an opportunity to have a great country. And I hope that you believe, as we do, that America's best days are still before us. We've been slowed down a little bit by people who have values that are quite different from the values of these Texans and the things that make East Texas the greatest place on the face of the earth to live. But it is time for us to hold all elected officials and candidates to a very high standard. And then after they are elected to office, to hold them to that standard. And it's harder to do at the local level than at any other level. And you know why? Because these are the people that you see at church, in the post office, at the grocery store. They may even be your friends. And holding friends accountable is what we must do. I've got a new slogan. Friends don't let friends elect liberals to office. So today you will hear some questions asked of the candidates that may appear to be a little odd to you. But we are here to find out what the core beliefs of these candidates are. We want to know what's in here. And the questions, many of them are designed to do exactly that. Now, this is not the only forum we intend to have for the sheriff's race. This is such an incredibly important race that we intend to have a second one if the people in Austin and Washington can ever figure out when our primary will actually be. Right now, it looks like it may be May 29th. That's very difficult on the candidates to have an extended period. It's difficult on people who are trying to work with candidates. So I'm going to ask you today to have the greatest respect for these men. Turn off all cell phones, please. I say that every week, and then I hear some kind of funny little chirping, chipping, musical notes. Please, we don't hear that today. It's difficult to stand before a group of people and present yourself as a candidate. Please give them your best manners and attention and apply the golden rule. Now, the timekeeper is an experienced timekeeper, Ms. Darlene Radel from Grassroots Hideaway Lake, and she's going to make sure she's the enforcer today. The candidates know the rules, and we're going to keep the timing the way it should be for everybody, and to be very fair. No candidate has had access to the questions ahead of time. That's not how we conduct business around here. In fact, nobody has seen the questions, all the questions but me. Mr. Pat Stacy, who is the Vice President and General Manager of GAWTP, is our moderator today. And Pat and GAWTP have had the latitude to put together a list of questions. And Mr. Stacy has absolute authority to redirect. Today, if a question has not been answered fully, Pat has the authority to ask the question again. So, without further ado, I want to say this. Let's please make sure that you've got cards on your table. Questions from the audience should be written on cards. We do that to maximize the amount of time that we have for questions. Now, let me tell you how your question is most likely to be asked. Do not lead the witness. Okay, y'all get that? If you tell the candidate what you want them to say before you ask the question, that's leading the witness. Just ask the question. Okay? So thank you so much for being here, and we're going to get started. Thank you. Candidates, you may be seated.
All right, gentlemen, welcome again. First of all, let me say thank you for carving out this time. It shows your commitment to this political process. I think it speaks also to the value and importance that you see in every vote. And it's my desire that as we go through this today and in the weeks and hopefully a few months only ahead, that we inspire people to vote. And if nothing else, get out and vote. But again, thank you for your commitment here. We've got time right now for each candidate to have 2 minutes for opening statements. Again, please respect the time limits. We've got our timekeeper to my right, all the way down at the end. She will hold up a yellow paddle when there's 30 seconds left, a red paddle when time is up. And if you see, is it just one paddle? Okay, so if you see the red paddle from the audience, that means the candidates are seeing the yellow paddle, so keep that in mind. I will interrupt you once that red time is up and just ask you to just finish your sentence at that point. So just be mindful of that. So we'll also, as we go through the questions, I will attempt to have answers starting at different candidates and rotate that throughout, so we're not just going to be in some alphabetical order or some other order that might create any kind of an imbalance in the preparation to answer the questions. All right? Gentlemen, you ready? All right. Well, we have 2 minutes now to begin opening statements. We will start and go from my left to right. So, Mr. Smith, you will begin. You have 2 minutes. Totally up to you on standing or sitting. It's really up to the individuals. So, if you're comfortable sitting, then I know that'd be fine too. If you've got to walk around a little bit, then that's fine as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today to hear what we have to say. Thank y'all for hosting this event. One thing I want to start off with is to tell you the office of sheriff of any county today is more important than it's ever been before. Everywhere I go, I hear people talking about the direction our nation is taking, and more especially our government, and more so the federal government. I think this has to, just like Ms. Fleming says, it's got to start at the local level. But one thing I did yesterday, I sent out a pledge. Y'all have that copy of that pledge at your table. There's copies if you were sitting in chairs and didn't get a copy of that pledge. It's up here in the front. It's a pledge from me to you of what I see, the direction we need to go, and where I will stand between you and an unconstitutional demand by any government, especially the federal government. I will stand between you and the federal government, and will defend you just like these other sheriffs throughout the nation have done up to today. These uncertain times that we live in demand principled, decisive, and and experienced law enforcement leadership who will fight crime and corruption. My proven leadership abilities, training, experience, and high ethical values will build a team, a good law enforcement team, whose number one goal will always be to protect your life, liberty, and property. I'm going to ask for your vote. I'm going to ask for your support today, but I hope not just ask for it, I hope to earn it by answering these questions, and I hope the questions are difficult. The more difficult they are, the more I want to answer them. And you're going to have a great decision to make between now and election time, and I encourage you to look at each of the resumes, the past experience, the places we've been, the things we want to do. I look at Smith County Sheriff's Office, I look at the vision I have is not where the Sheriff's Office is, but where I want to take this Sheriff's Office. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Garman.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. The race of sheriff of Smith County is important, and you as voters need to know something about each one of us up here. I'm Bobby Gorman. The platform I'm running on is based on my experience. By now, you know I'm not a public speaker, but I am working on it, and I will continue to work on it. I am a public service. I've been in law enforcement for 34 years, 31 of them right here in Smith County. I started as a deputy and worked myself up through the rank to my current position, chief deputy, second in command of 355 employees. I also oversee a $25 million. The jail alone is 216 of those 355 employees. 17 million of that $25 million is to operate the jail. That is over 70% of the Smith County budget is the jail. I am the only candidate with the kind of experience needed to do this job. I hold a master peace officer license with over 2,800 hours of law enforcement management training. I am the only candidate with the kind of training needed to do this job. I have served as officer in many law enforcement associations and have won numerous awards, including the Outstanding Chief Deputy Award. I have been active in our community and served on several nonprofit boards. I am a family man. I have been married to my wife for 31 years. We raised our 2 sons in this community and have vested interest in their well-being. I am the only candidate who had lived and worked in this county for 31 years. In times like these, experience matters. Experience is what we need as sheriff of Smith County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garman. Mr. Rest.
Well, my name is Don Rust, and I'm running for Smith County Sheriff. I'm married to my wife, Barbara. We have 2 children, Dustin and Molly. And I'm a conservative Republican and a resident of Smith County. Currently, I manage our family's oil and gas interests and work full-time, non-paid as the captain of Precinct 3 Constable's Office, with 10 years experience in law enforcement and over 30 years of successful business experience managing and owning many different types of businesses. I have been tested. I have the experience and knowledge of running $70 million budgets and motivating hundreds of employees. The sheriff's budget is $25 million and growing. What my campaign is focused on is efficient and effective use of current funds and finding ways to save taxpayer money without compromising our safety or security. With this in mind, and looking at the budget, here are 5 ideas. Number 1, we're going to implement a $20 bookend fee at the jail. That'll generate $260,000. 2, we have to come up with a plan to reduce deputy turnover. We're spending $700,000 a year retraining deputies. I have a plan for that I've used in other businesses. 3, we have to work with the Veterans Administration, and they've agreed to pay for medical care, mental care, and medicines for our veterans that are incarcerated. This can save us literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. The jail commissary has an operating budget of $2 million that is outsourced. With my food service background, we will be able to operate and manage the commissary and utilize the extra profit to reduce the burden to taxpayers. And number 5, the updated jail will require, which is mandated by the state, 70 new jailers will need to be hired and certified at an estimated cost of $3.4 million. Now the county's broke. Where and how will we get this money? Well, there is untapped.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gressel. All right, Mr. Green.
Certainly want to thank Joanne and the board and Grassroots for having us. We as candidates know the importance of this race, and in y'all's presence here, we all know that this is a very important race. The sheriff is the top law enforcement officer in this county. I'm the most qualified candidate because we also know this sheriff's office is a law enforcement entity, but it's also a business. 355 employees, $25 million budget. I have a business degree from Dallas Baptist University. I've worked in the private sector. I've been a small business owner. And also I've got 20 years of state law enforcement, some of the best training the state of Texas has to offer. So I have the best of both worlds to be sheriff. I'm a master peace officer. I have almost 5,000 hours of law enforcement training right here in Smith County, in the state. I'm a law enforcement instructor. I'm a firearms instructor, field training officer. I'm the media rep for our department for 20 years. Family man, my wife's here, Kelly. I have 2 kids. But most importantly, I, as a game warden here, have worked with every police municipality, fire department, every entity in Smith County. We've worked well together. We will continue to work together. I don't have to introduce myself to anybody, whether it's on the state level, the local level, city level, whatever it is. I know these guys because I've worked with them. I've worked around them. I know its strengths. I know the county's weaknesses because I've patrolled it for so long. I want to increase the integrity. I want to be more transparent, more efficient with our law enforcement, the use of our officers, and certainly budget, and certainly work by the Constitution. I have relevant law enforcement experience, the business side and the law enforcement side, the best training that Texas has to offer. I'm not a leader who leads by intimidation or fear. I lead by participation. I want to be the last one in the room to speak because I want everybody else to have a say. Thank you.